Poor hubby. Poor hubby.
No. He knows how to sell right there. Okay.
The yards here at Howard University are now empty. Tens of thousands of supporters of the vice president came to hear what they hoped would be a victory speech. But as state by state was called throughout the evening, people trickled out. And then finally, Cedric Richmond, the chairman of the campaign, said that the vice president would not be coming. She'll be delivering what is almost certain to be a concession speech later on Wednesday.
Oh my God.
Disappointment of epic proportions.
Yeah, I'm sure her supporters are incredibly disappointed. Look at the devastation in their faces, and she can't even be bothered to come out and talk to them until she gets herself together. And she wanted to be the president of America.
This is a disappointment of epic proportions.
They're so sad.
One battleground state after another fell into Donald Trump's hands. Supporters here were crestfallen, almost in disbelief. This will take a lot of time to sort out.
It's just very unfortunate. After losing the election, all her supporters needed was for her to come out and say something, and she couldn't even do that. She comes across as being so weak, even when being interviewed by Fox News host Brett Baier.
Madam Vice President, thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Brett.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election. And specifically,
immigration is an issue. Crime is an issue that people are very concerned about. Kamala Harris, you want to be president? You want to be the one to negotiate with people like Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin, and you want to sit people down and get people to the table? All right, right now you're at the table with Brett Baier. Let's see how you do. Let's see if you can address what is on the Americans' minds without wasting any time or getting lost in talking points. Can she do it? Can she come across like a human being?
Influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have.
Let's have this conversation.
You know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you
now,
just a
which
number?
Is,
do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point.
Let's do it.
The point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
She's not entirely wrong.
The Security Secretary said
but she needs to just answer the question, all right? If there's any failures in current policy, she needs to address that and take responsibility. She needs to just say up front and address what's on people's minds. But she just can't do that.
85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a
an
rough
immigration
estimate of
system.
6 million people.
Now, Brett Baier is, he's kind of untrustworthy and he's being a little bad faith, but, you know, he's a news reporter and this is the candidate for president. So, I think it's okay to use Brett Baier and Fox News here. I think this is okay.
That have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And
not really.
When you came into office,
you weren't really answering. I'm sorry. You're trying to get your points across, and I get it, and it's all good. Just box this clown rhetorically, intellectually. Just do it, all right? He's throwing jabs. Throw jabs back, because you're not even throwing any punches. You're just going off.
Border policies. Most significantly, the policy.
I wish you would go off on what is relevant to this conversation, Ms. Kamala Harris.
Either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, Included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes.
There were heinous crimes committed by illegal immigrants under Biden's administration while Kamala Harris was vice president. So, is she going to address this at the very least? Or are we just going to pretend like that didn't happen and she's just going to go off on her talking points and get completely lost?
So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your
Yes,
administration?
no.
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath,
Oh my God.
the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yep, you did
before
that.
the
That's
Chips
good.
and Science Act.
That's good.
Before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act.
Mm-hmm.
The first bill, practically within
Vote Biden,
hours
vote
of
Biden,
taking
vote
the oath,
Biden.
was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called
And
the
The
U.S.
very first thing that you did was enact a bill to fix our immigration system. And for 4 years, ever since you first got into office, this has been a priority of yours. And we're dealing with a crime increase across the border. And it's been a priority of yours.
Citizenship Act of 2021. It was essentially
He just brought up the very bill that she just brought up. She is the one who mentioned it.
Citizenship Act of 2021. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the. Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding?
She's losing
please?
it.
But
She's
you
getting
have to let me
frustrated.
finish,
You had the
please.
White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and they
in the
didn't bring
middle
up
of
that bill.
responding to the
You're
point
in the middle of responding. Just fucking respond.
Okay.
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem.
All right. Well, that problem isn't fixed. You had 4 years, and now you're asking for 4 more. All right. You can't separate Kamala Harris from Joe Biden. You just can't. All right. Especially when she is so hesitant to separate herself. I want to get into it. Look, I hate Donald Trump more than anything, and I'll never forgive Republicans or the conservative voters for not letting go of that complete fucking buffoon. All right? Obviously. But this video is about Kamala Harris. So I have plenty of content bullying Donald Trump. So right now this is just going to be about Kamala Harris. So let's stay focused. I am sure that Kamala Harris did a decent job. I'm sure she was a good state attorney general, and I wish she would have spent more than just 4 years in the Senate so she could get more experience, and we could have had a liberal in the Senate. You know, that's actually very useful. And obviously, as a Democrat, she would have been more inclined to vote for legislation that I'd be more in support of, more often than not. Her experience in federal and national government was just entirely underdeveloped. So much so that even the people who voted for her in the election have the weakest defenses for her. I'll go over a few of them. I have some notes here that I'm reading. People say she was the most liberal senator. Yeah, real cool. She was the most liberal senator during her time in 2017, during Donald Trump's first term, and she was representing California and California's reaction to far-right politics gaining in popularity. Like, wow, really breaking the mold there, really setting herself apart as a breakout individual. Yeah, it's not hard to be the most liberal senator when representing California, our most left-leaning state, during 2017 when reactionary politics was through the roof. She was the first black vice president, first female vice president chosen by Joe Biden, who from the very start said he would have chosen a black woman. It could have just as easily been Stacey Abrams. And the only reason why Kamala Harris was available to accept the offer to be vice president is because she already had failed in 2020 to run for president. She had to settle to be Biden's vice president and being Biden's tool Because not even Democrats during the height of their Trump derangement syndrome in 2020 wanted to vote for Kamala Harris to be their president. Record-breaking tie votes, record-breaking tie votes. It's a vice president's job to cast the final Senate vote during a deadlock tie. The fact that Harris was called upon so frequently to do that is more indicative of a historically divided and partisan Congress and Senate. Our country is not in agreement. All right? If Mike Pence had been vice president during that exact same time, then he would have casted record-breaking tie votes. All right, but then it would have gone in the other direction. And then this would have been a talking point that liberals would have spewed against conservatives. So it's all just kind of a game that people are getting tired of. Look, I wanted to like Kamala Harris. I waited 4 years for her to stand out. But in 2024, I just wanted to vote for a strong leader who I believe could speak to the issues that I was passionate about. And this time around, after my entire life of voting, my entire adult life, I just could not vote blue no matter who this time. I needed just a little bit more substance. And Kamala Harris, unfortunately, her politics were ill-defined. They were ill-defined, if they were even defined at all. I know that through her history, she had flopped back and forth on the death penalty and even weed legalization. And whatever her current message was, it just wasn't getting across to most Americans. It just wasn't getting across. I'm sorry, it wasn't. She was chosen by an establishment, and then she was catapulted into the public eye by the Biden campaign. And our first introduction to her was as being Joe Biden's token black woman. That's not very exciting. It's just not. She had 4 years of media fawning over her, while also having the fact that she made history as our nation's first woman vice president. And yet she failed. After 4 years of having that on her side, she failed to establish herself. She failed to establish any agenda. And she even failed to build a constituency around her. As nice as she seems, she just didn't come across as being confident or even genuine. She came across as being a little too robotic. Just a little too robotic. She didn't have the trust of the American voters. I read a few of her policies, and then I tried to close my eyes and imagine. I tried to imagine her actually attempting to be president in 2025 and get her good policies through, and I just couldn't see it. I started laughing. Just to try to imagine Kamala Harris getting people together and leading them, or even demanding them to move the country in a certain way, to be a strong advocate for good ideas. I just couldn't imagine Kamala Harris as president, even if she had an entirely Democratic Congress and Senate, which is that would have been a miracle, and we can see now that that didn't happen. But even if she had an entirely Democrat-controlled House and Senate, I could not imagine Kamala Harris taking the lead on legislation that would have been beneficial, or legislation that would have worked. I'm trying to imagine Kamala Harris sitting down and working with private industry and getting a bunch of CEOs together and working to lead them in a better direction to help the American people. And I just could not imagine that. I just laughed. Kamala Harris just did not have the strength that she needed. In 2024, she had to appeal to progressives by being the new way forward, whatever the fuck that meant. But she also had to maintain a moderate stance while she brainlessly defended 4 years of the Biden administration, which people were frustrated with. I don't like Donald Trump. He's a clown, and he does not deserve to be president. But you could say what you want about that complete idiot. His message was that of going against an ineffective incumbency. He kept things very dumb, but he kept things relatable, and people were feeling him as a leader. They actually felt him. Like, say what you want about this complete fucking photo op here, but just listen, just pay attention.
It better be. It's going to be the best you ever.
Donald Trump doing the dumb thing at McDonald's.
That's it. Thank you, man. Thank you. There'll be no charge. Trump is paying for it. Is that okay?
No charge, all paid for. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you. He's paying for Americans' foods as they're just driving through trying to get lunch. That's pretty good optics. Meanwhile, what was Kamala Harris doing?
And live from New York City! This is it. The last campaign stop in Pennsylvania. Gosh, I wish I could talk to someone who's been in my shoes, you know?
LOL.
South Asian
So funny.
woman running for president, preferably from the Bay Area.
As the crowd applauds like mindless apes. Yeah, I'm sure you're having a good time on SNL with all the Hollywood elites. The DNC was just so unprepared to lose. They were so out of touch. They were so out of touch that they had to change their leadership entirely. The DNC was just not ready.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris was taken aback by her loss to President Donald Trump this past November. She had believed the positive reports that her campaign was on track leading up to Election Day, according to a new book on the 2024 presidential election. She was completely shocked, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was equally surprised.
Yeah, you just weren't ready. You were overly confident. Way too overly confident. Emotionally, and it may be difficult to say, it's difficult for people to grasp with, but Kamala Harris, honestly, emotionally, she represented everything Trump represented. Inexperience, unworthiness, partisan identity politics, divisiveness. She wasn't a good leader for women. She wasn't a good representation for the black community. And as of 2025, her work hasn't earned her any further spots in our nation's history. Man, the DNC, dude, they were so unprepared for this win. For Trump's win and their loss. Typically, the DNC will have a press release every other day or so, almost every day. But during the time of the announcement of Trump's win, they took almost an entire week off. And even when they finally did come back with a press release, they didn't even address their loss. They didn't even say much about Donald Trump. They just did an obligatory Veterans Day statement. And then I think a couple days later, they eventually did say something about Donald Trump. They didn't really address their loss. Not really, but, you know, all of these reasons that I have mentioned, this entire video is just me to say that I didn't have much confidence in Kamala Harris, and I obviously was not alone. And that's probably the reason why she didn't get any votes at all whatsoever. That's not true. People voted for her. That wasn't true of me just now, but everything else that I said in this video is obviously 100% true.